everyone, it's Mary. I'm finally filming my recent reads video, which includes all the books that I read from January till May, actually. So yeah, we're in June now, and I'm aware that's a very big, very large period of time, but actually I haven't read that many books in this, during this time, and I definitely overestimated myself when I said in my latest video that I was going to film no matter what, even if I had, my baby with me, that I was going to be able to film with him like on my lap or just hanging about, but that didn't happen, and I don't think it's possible, at least to me. I don't know how you guys that are moms do it, but it's not, I couldn't do that. So first off, I'm going to mention I've read mostly non-fiction books during this period of time, and most of them are about parenting again, and it's just, I by nature get very obsessive over things that interest me. So obviously in this period of my life, what interests me the most is my child and how to raise him, or how to get little hacks on day-to-day life, on things that I decided to do with him, like, I don't know, weaning or using cloth diapers, or trying to potty train him as an infant. All of that just to say that my son is now 9 months, so we are going through weaning, so that's the main thing that really was interesting to me. That's why I read 5 books on weaning, actually on baby-led weaning, because that's what I decided to do, what we decided to do with him. And basically, without going into much detail, because obviously I could talk a lot about this kind of topic, having read 5 books, actually 4, because one of them was on traditional weaning, just to balance things out. It's not really balanced, but you know what I mean. Just to know, the basics about what everybody else is doing, because here in Italy, baby-led weaning is not very popular. I don't think it's that popular even outside of Italy, but especially in Italy, it's not very common or known, and most people think that baby-led weaning means that you get bored with feeding, spoon feeding him or her, and you start giving him your stuff that you're eating, which is kind of like that. It's baby-led weaning means that you actually skip the phase in which you have purees and you have to spoon feed your baby. So it starts much later, mostly because you have to wait for the baby to be perfectly ready to ingest actually solids. So it's for safety reasons, and for the maturity of the guts and everything. He has to be sitting properly, he has to have an interest in what you're eating. It's not really that he starts to eat what you're eating, but you start to eat what he should be eating. So you have all of your, you have rules as how to cut things so that are safe for him or her. And yes, basically that's baby-led weaning. We're doing it. I'm finding this was the right choice for me. I'm happy that I made this kind of choice, and that's why I have been reading so much, because I was so afraid that I was not going to do the right thing, and because I had no support from moms around me. It's not that people around me were actually judging me. Actually, they were very supportive, but what I mean is that I didn't really have anyone that I knew that did the same thing that I was going to do, and I couldn't really share my doubts on this. Most of the books that I read are in Italian, because I wanted an Italian spin on the situation, since food in Italy is very important. I mean, in every part of the world, food is actually it's a very cultural thing, and it is important, but especially I feel in Italy, it's something that we deeply care about, and it's very central to our life. So I just wanted some Italian views on the topic, and again, it's not that common to find those kind of opinions on this kind of topic. But I did read mostly, there's 2 books on baby-led weaning, which I'm not going to talk about because they're not even translated. This one I couldn't even find on Goodreads, and I couldn't even track it. And it's just a book that was written by a mom, and I found it very useful actually, because it was I felt like it was a friend of mine that, was going through the same doubts that I had. So I really enjoyed this one. And then I have another one, again, not translated, which was more general. It was not really talking about the rules or how you should be going to do actually, practically this kind of weaning. But it was, it was good nonetheless. And then I have the book that was on traditional weaning, which I didn't really enjoy. Again, it's not translated, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But yeah, I had some things that were useful, like a graphic on which you can see which fruit or vegetable is in season. Stuff like that, which I found useful, but again, not for the purpose, of weaning, but, healthy foods, how to combine different foods. For that reason, I found it useful. So I'm keeping it, even though I gave it 2 stars. Another book that it's not translated is this one on baby-led weaning, that it's just a bunch of different recipes for everyone. It's called Baby-led Weaning for Everybody, so for the entire family. So if I don't know what to cook, I can go and browse through this one, flick through, and just find a recipe that is going to be healthy and, yeah, that's, was proven to be good for baby-led weaning. So yeah, useful, this one again. And then the book that I actually read, that's the main book that everybody references to, which was Baby-Led Weaning by Gill Rapley. This one was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. It was exactly what I needed to push myself and start this kind of journey. This is very specific, it's very simple, but at the same time it gives you, the practical advice you need if you want to do this kind of thing. I read another 2 books sort of on parenting. One, I don't think, again, this is translated actually. I'm pretty sure it's not translated, but if it is, I'm going to put a link down below. It's just a book that was sitting there in my parents' house. I was waiting there an afternoon, and I don't remember if I think my son was sleeping, and I didn't have any books with me. This was lying there, and I just thought, it seems pretty quick, and I could just read it, and I did. So in an afternoon, it's not a very long book, and it is about smartphones. So it's, the old kind of debate between the father and 2 kids, the 2 kids. It's kind of a dialogue-like type of book. He's arguing that technology really, he has that nostalgic kind of attitude towards it, in which he says that we're losing contact, like physical contact, human interaction through smartphones and all of that stuff, and the kids are defending technology. It really doesn't give you any definite opinion on the topic. On both sides you can see where the kids are coming from and where the adult is coming from, and it makes sense, but it was not amazing. It's just okay. And then I have another book on kind of parenting, I guess, which is Infant Potty Basics by Laurie book. I have the Italian version, but I'm going to put the original one here. This one is on infant potty training, which is something very different from the traditional potty training. It's not really a training, actually. It's more of I'm listening to your needs, and when I see that you need to use the potty, then I'm going to bring you there, and we're going to build a code, and I'm going to respond to your needs. That's the basics. And obviously, the sooner you do this, the sooner it gets, it gets natural for the child to seek a place instead of the diaper to do his business. So Yeah, I find it very fascinating, actually, in a lot of different, cultures that are not my own. This is like the norm, so you don't really have to use a diaper. Moms are very aware of the baby's needs, and they notice when the child needs to use the potty, and that's how they naturally train them to do so. So it's obviously it's very hard. At least I found it very hard for myself, because you do have to spend a lot of time with the child, which I already do. I'm basically, 24 hours. I think in 24 hours I'm with him like 20 hours, but of course I'm doing stuff around the house. I don't have him always on me, so I don't always catch the signals. But I've been doing this since he was 4 months, and yeah, it's working mostly, so I'm very happy with that. And yeah, sorry, I didn't really want to go into much detail about it, but it was okay as a book. Not extremely useful, because it's something that does not really have a definite rule. You do have to build your own rules, and it's different for every child and every family, so that's it basically. But it was interesting, and it's what helped me, kickstart on this, again, this kind of journey. A lot of baby stuff, I know. And actually, I've read another nonfiction book, which is a memoir, and it's also kind of about babies, sorry. But it is My Shitty Twenties by Emily Morris. And I actually read this one last year, but I forgot to mention it in my, my latest wrap-up. So I'm going to talk about this in here. I saw this book on my Instagram feed, and I thought it sounded very interesting, both because of the cover, which I think is very pretty, and because of the premise. So it's a memoir in which the author fell pregnant when she was 22, and she actually was studying for university and was not really looking for a baby, and her partner didn't want anything to do with her or with the pregnancy. So it's a very, it's a very sad kind of situation in which I am not, and that's why I was interested, because I wanted something different, some fresh and new, a different perspective from my own, that I'm kind of on the opposite side, because I am almost 30. I do have a husband, and we've been together for 13 years now. I wanted a baby. I always wanted kids, but especially this baby, we were looking for a baby, and I feel very lucky and in a very good position, especially compared to this poor girl that found herself in a very big and difficult situation, because motherhood and pregnancy, especially motherhood, is very hard. And if you don't have support, or if you are very insecure, as she seems to be, then it's harder. It's even harder. Despite that, I didn't really enjoy this book that much. I felt like it didn't really have a closure. She didn't deliver, a specific kind of message. I guess she just wanted to tell you her story, which is interesting, and I kind of enjoyed her writing style. It was okay, but I couldn't really sympathize with her, which I don't know if it's because we're so different. I don't have the same cultural background as her, but she would be very kind of judgy herself. She would expect judgment from others, and she was very defensive about everything, and very on edge and anxious, which makes sense given her situation. Some things were kind of left a bitter taste in my mouth, and I was like, I don't think I would have done that in that situation, which doesn't mean that it's true. It just means that how I personally felt towards her, it was not sympathy, which is sad. I was rooting for her, obviously, and I did want her to have a good life despite everything, and to have a good relationship with her son, and I just want the happy ending. So that's something that I was hoping for anyway, even though I was not sympathizing with the character, I would say, with the person. I did agree on some things that she said though, and I actually underlined some stuff, especially on the actual day in which she gave birth, and it says, because she says, the actual day you give birth might not be so great. The all-consuming, high-as-a-kite, gooey love I'd been promised came at its own leisurely pace, which I definitely agree with. I never could understand when, you know, a lot of people that I know or that I've seen, you know, talk about giving birth, when they say, everything now has meaning. My life now has meaning, and I love this creature more than anything else. The love that I feel is so, you know, immense. And I was like, kind of afraid by this kind of statement and by this kind of feelings, because to me, love has always been something that you have to build and that you have to nurture. It's something very complex and big that grows as time goes by, with experience and with the knowledge of one another. And that's how I felt towards my baby as well. It's not that I didn't love him as he came out. I was very happy and thrilled, and I was so proud of myself and what I did, and I couldn't stop looking at him and, you know, thinking, I made this, I did this. Even thinking about it, I'm like, wow, I don't even know how nature is so spectacular. But other than that, you know, love, true love, deep love, it's something else, I think, and it's something that grew each day, and every day I love my son more and more and more, and I'm sure that it will keep growing. But I did not feel like everything had a meaning suddenly when I gave birth. That's what I agree on with Emily Morris. So yeah, I think it was just okay, this book, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it though, but I'm still glad that I read it. Then on to this one, which is The Two Towers, the second volume in the Lord of the Rings trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien. I am buddy reading this with Natalie over at A Curious Reader and Yamini over at A Skeptical Reader. We started this read, this buddy read, actually in August, and I was the one that started the whole thing. I was a fool. I don't know, what was I thinking? It was the last month of my pregnancy, so obviously I had to think about the fact that once I had given birth, I would not maybe have that much time to schedule a kind of read-along, a buddy read. So I don't know what I was thinking. We kind of dragged this buddy read for so long now, and it's all entirely my fault, but the ladies were so patient and so nice to me. I do love them, and I'm actually having a lot of fun reading these books, even though we're reading this at this, you know, very slow pace. We're currently reading the third one. This time around, I think we're on track. For me, this is a reread. I read The Lord of the Rings when I was 12 or 13, and since then I have not reread it, which is crazy, especially because I think this one is one of my favorite books of all time. It stuck with me, and it was so relevant for my entire life, and I had to reread it, obviously. And now, reading it now that I am an adult, it even makes more sense. I find it very heartening that I actually feel the same towards this book as I did when I was 12. It's kind of weird and great at the same time. I'm really enjoying this buddy read, and I'm happy to say that I still love The Lord of the Rings. The last book that I'm going to talk about is a short story collection, and it is Sweet Home by Caris Bray. And I have a complicated relationship. It's not very complicated. I don't have a very good relationship with short story collections. I don't really enjoy them that much. The fact that there are some stories that I do enjoy and then some that are meh, then it kind of spoils the entire book for me. I just don't feel like I'm the right reader for short story collections. Although I did have some short story collections that I enjoyed, so I keep trying. Every once in a while I do try and read a short story collection. Yeah, this again revolves around families and around, I'm smiling because my entire, you know, recent reads is actually about families and babies, apart from The Lord of the Rings. But yeah, this one talks a lot about families and about relationships between parents and children, both young and older, and it's actually a bit sad but very real and raw, and I actually really enjoyed her writing style. That's why even this book was just okay. I liked it. I did not love it, but again, I suspect it's because it's a short story collection. I think I'm going to read more of her works, especially if she wrote novels, which I think she did. I have to check, but yeah, I do want to check out more by her, and I did enjoy some of the stories. Some of them not so much, but overall it was a good short story collection. What I did not like about it was maybe that she overuses metaphors a bit. I love metaphors and they do their job, but if you overuse them, then it kind of spoils the beauty of it, I think. So I felt that device was kind of overused, and also the fact that it had, I think, a couple of stories that are magical realism, which I did not think they were fitting into the whole collection. I don't know if it's just me. I felt like the other stories were very real, very raw, and those two stories did not really belong, but probably it's just of course it's my opinion, and actually I've seen in other reviews that a lot of people did enjoy this short story collection, especially because of this kind of magical realism element to them. So possibly this one could be for you if you enjoy those type of things. I do enjoy magical realism. I just don't think that I was not expecting to find those kind of stories in this collection. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but overall, a good book, and I would recommend it, especially if you enjoy short story collections. That's it. Those were all the books that I read from January up until May, and I won't make promises that I won't keep, but I do have a lot of books that I have acquired in this period of time, and I wanted to film a haul, but then again I thought I'd film about the books that I've been reading, which is far more interesting than showing you the books that I have gotten, but still, they're here and I want to talk to you about them as well, so possibly I will film a haul in the near future. And of course the books that I'm currently reading now, because I'm reading 1, 2, 3 books now. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for sticking with me. Just let me know if you read any of the books that I mentioned. I don't know if you are interested in baby stuff, but I guess you're going to see a lot of those kind of non-fiction stuff in the future, because that's what I've been reading alongside my my fiction books. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!